We are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation.
So as I continue to follow the campaigns of Joe Biden and Donald Trump, I've been putting a lot of thought into how I want my president to sound, how I want them to think about America. What type of rhetoric are they using to talk to the American people about the United States? I think it's important for our presidents to be cheerleaders for this country. Not only do they represent us on the world stage, but they should represent all Americans and trying to bring Congress together and get bipartisan legislation passed for all Americans. I think these are very important things that we should expect, or that I expect, of my president. But as I continue to watch Donald Trump go out there and spew a whole bunch of vitriol, it's really made me think about how people think about the type of rhetoric we should expect from our presidents. Have you guys put any thought into this? I think it's important that our president can recognize struggles that our country has, can recognize problems that we have, but then hype Americans up to go solve those problems. I don't see that from Donald Trump. Donald Trump is constantly slandering America, denigrating his enemies, talking so poorly about American cities. It's quite old. And then I stack that up against how I hear Joe Biden talk about things. He's optimistic. He has a unifying message. He wants to bring people together for all Americans. These are very stark. It's a very stark contrast between the two. And so today I wanted to go over a number of videos to see how these two presidential candidates are talking about America. Let's go ahead and start off with Donald Trump here. This was his kickoff rally for his 2024 bid. This is how he opened his campaign.
I said it in 2016. You'll say, oh, I didn't say it in 2020. I said it in 2016. And I meant it so strongly, but I mean it much stronger now. This is much more important because our country is ready to fail. We're a failing nation. We're a nation that is in serious trouble financially, militarily. We have no allies. We have no respect. We have no nothing. And I just want to say that it will be the most important vote you cast. And your primary, look, I guess we're in good shape, but I can't say that. You ever hear of somebody in good shape and then nobody goes out to vote? You have to go out to vote. You have to go out to vote. And for the election, you have to go. But you have to call those swing staters and you have to get them to vote, because if we don't win this election, I believe we will no longer have a country.
I mean, what is this type of rhetoric? Vote for me, or the country's going down the tubes? Vote for me, or this whole place is going to be set afire? I mean, come on. Is this the type of rhetoric we want representing us as Americans? Especially when we're talking about presidents representing us on the world stage. Is this how he talks to other countries about America? We already know Donald Trump puts more stock into what our adversaries think of us versus what our allies think of us. Is he out there in the world talking crap about America to other world leaders as well? But let's go ahead and move on to another Donald Trump video in New Hampshire.
Never forget our enemies want to stop us because we are the only ones who can stop them. And if these corrupt persecutions of our people succeed, they will complete their takeover of this country and destroy your way of life, and it'll be destroyed forever. You're never going to be able to come back. This country is so far down right now. We're really, truly a failing nation. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom.
So, I mean, basically what he's saying here is that if Democrats get reelected, then what? Then they're coming for your way of life? I mean, it's not even honest. It's just apocalyptic. Everything is doom and gloom, unless, of course, Trump is the leader of the United States. But let's move on. We have Trump talking at the NRB here.
Everyday American believers not only help defeat fascism and communism, they help to build America into the greatest nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, its willpower, and its strength. We are a nation that has lost its way, but we are not going to allow this horror to continue. We can't allow it to continue.
It's just more of the same. The nation is in decline. This is a failed nation. This is not how I envision United States presidents talking to their constituents, to the American people. President should be a cheerleader for our country and the future of the country. But let's move on. This is another Donald Trump from just a few days ago, or actually last month, sorry, of him speaking in Michigan. Just more of the same.
Tilled the fields, forged the seals, fought the battles, and won the victories that made America into the greatest and most powerful nation anywhere in the world. We love our nation. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, its willpower, and it's lost its strength. We are a nation that has lost its way, but we are not going to allow this horror. It's an absolute horror.
So as I said, this is just more of the same from Donald Trump. This is the type of rhetoric Donald Trump uses on a daily basis. And I don't think it's possible that he's out there speaking to other world leaders without this type of rhetoric. Do you think Donald Trump is actually hyping up America to other world leaders? Do you think he's drawing an optimistic future for the United States? It doesn't even seem like Donald Trump would be capable of doing something like that, because Donald Trump only thinks about Donald Trump. Whatever's good for Donald Trump. Otherwise, everything's on fire, everybody's corrupt, nothing works unless you elect me. That's pretty much his message here. So I've just been putting a lot of thought into this lately. I feel like our president should be a cheerleader for the nation. They should bring people together. There should be some unity. You don't ever hear Joe Biden talking about Republicans with such vitriol that we hear from Trump. I don't think I've ever heard that out of Biden. And when we hear him talking about America, it's a very optimistic message. He can identify problems that we have, but still say, we're America. We can fix these problems. And that is a more inspiring message to me. And I think that more American people will align with that sort of message versus the doom and gloom and the apocalypse that Donald Trump is painting. So let's go ahead and look at Biden, see what he's saying. This was during the State of the Union address.
I've known our North Star. The very idea of America is that we're all created equal and deserves to be treated equally throughout our lives. We've never fully lived up to that idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I won't walk away from it now. I'm optimistic. I really am. I'm optimistic, Nancy.
So here we have Joe Biden clearly identifying that America has never lived up to its values. But we're America. We can do it. We just got to try. I don't know. This seems like a more compelling message to me. I don't want to think that the world is going to turn into a hellscape if Joe Biden is not reelected. Even though I think that's very possible with somebody like Donald Trump, we do not hear that type of rhetoric coming out of Joe Biden, because American presidents should be representative of all Americans and should be speaking with an optimistic tone about our country that he wants to lead for another 4 years. Why would I want a guy like Trump, who is constantly crapping on America, to be leading that same country he's painting so miserably? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But let's go ahead and move on to Biden at the prayer breakfast, talking about unity, talking about how important it is that we come together, even if we disagree, to get things done.
In our politics, in our lives, we too often see each other as opponents and not competitors. We see each other as enemies, not neighbors. And as tough as these times have been, if we look closer, we see the strength, the determination that has long defined America. Because when we're president in our lives, we find there's so much more that unites us, in my view. So much more that unites us than divides us. And while we have profound differences, the last 2 years have proven we can come together to do big things for the country. We can join hands and get things done. We can redeem the soul of America. My prayer for this prayer breakfast is we start to see each other again, look at each other again, travel with each other again, argue like hell with each other again, but then still go to lunch together. Let's just sort of kind of join hands again a little bit. Let's start treating each other with respect.
Could you imagine Donald Trump uttering 95% of what we just heard out of Joe Biden? Could you think about Donald Trump talking about unity and how the country needs to come together and build towards a shared future? I honestly don't think it's within Donald Trump's character to do so. He is constantly slandering America. But then on the other hand, we have Biden. So let's look at one more video of Biden here.
Above all, I see a country for all Americans, a future for all of Americans, a presidency for all of Americans. Because I believe in America, I believe in you, the American people. We just have to remember who in hell we are. We are the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
So to me, this is just a much more compelling message. Joe Biden seems fired up to fight for everyday Americans, for all Americans, and he's optimistic about the future. And this is nothing new. People who have known Joe Biden, who have been working in Congress with him for the last however many decades, have always said that Joe Biden is an eternal optimist. And that is something that I admire, because I am not an eternal optimist. I would probably be considered a pessimist, a glass half empty type of guy. So I think it's really good for our presidents to be eternally optimistic. I think we should want them building towards a future for all Americans. I don't hear Joe Biden talking crap even about MAGA Americans. He talks about all Americans and how we should be working towards a shared future together. And I think that that's important. If you're going to be representing our country, the people of our country, it should be a good, optimistic message. And I think Joe Biden delivers that in spades. So there's just one more video I wanted to show you. Josh Shapiro went on MSNBC, and he pretty much gave this exact same message, but he said it with a little bit more substance, policy-wise. So let's go ahead and take a look at that really quick.
I think they want to be led by someone who is honest and decent, someone who's actually on their side, like Joe Biden. And all they hear from Donald Trump is a whole bunch of whining about this country. And I think Donald Trump's got to quit whining, got to quit trying to divide us. I mean, consider this, Jen. We're producing more energy than ever before in this nation. We have the strongest economy in the world, and we are beating China for the first time in decades. More people went to work this morning in America than at any other time in our nation's history. So I got a message to Donald Trump and all his negativity and his whining. Stop shit-talking America. This is the greatest country on earth, and it's time that we all start acting like it.
So I think that was a pretty powerful message. Like I said, it had a bit more substance as far as policies go. And he was 100% correct there. Our economy, by all metrics, is doing pretty good. If we could fix some of the polarization in this country, we'd be doing very well. So what do you guys think? Should it matter what type of rhetoric our presidents use? Is there a difference between Donald Trump's vision for the world and America meaningfully different to you than Biden's? Like I said, I think it's important that we have representatives of our country that are going to cheerlead this country with some optimism. That's not to say that this country's perfect or that we don't have problems, because we certainly do. But I want somebody who can address those problems and then come up with a solution to fix it for all Americans. Not like what we hear from Donald Trump. He only talks about what's good for Donald Trump. When was the last time that he gave you any substantial outlook for everyday Americans? I can't remember the last time he has done something like that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd really like to know if this makes a difference, or if you just think people like Joe Biden are blowing smoke and it doesn't really matter. Or do you really agree with Donald Trump? Is this American experiment turning into a hellscape if he is not reelected? What do you guys think? But that's going to do it for me on this one, folks. If you could remember to smash that like button and hit subscribe, maybe share it with a friend or two, I'd very much appreciate that. If you think I got something wrong, or if you disagree with me on something, feel free to comment below. And if you want to understand why I think Trump is the most un-American president that we have ever had, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. And I will see you guys on the next one.